Well, we have Richard Lorenzen here for a second week.
Yes.
Metalwork artist, painter apparently too, woodworker, middle school teacher.
My favorite was the Raven.
The Raven!
Yeah.
And apparently we're also going to gain some insights on Belgian beer.
And biking.
And biking in Belgium
Yes.
with waffles.
Oh, yeah. Anything you want in Belgium.
Anything you want in Belgium, even chocolate. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm still Peter. There is Doug, and we have
because I didn't have to spend a week in the basement.
yeah.
I slid pizzas under the door.
yeah, exactly. And we have special guest Richard Lorenzen, who's back. He's an educator, metal sheet artist, and I found out he's also an avid cyclist and hiker. And we're going to talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Let's start out with cycling. Now, I know Colorado's super popular for cycling. I also know that cyclists are run over all the time because cars don't always pay the most attention. So tell us about cycling. I mean, you do it here in town in Colorado Springs?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm trying to think of how I got into cycling. I just remember growing up on the farm, us kids always had bikes.
Yeah.
We biked everywhere. We biked up to the barn we actually went to middle school. Our middle school was in the country, so we could actually bike to school. We're the only kids who could bike to school in middle school. But then as I got older, I think after I left home, I went to college, and I think I bought a bike my junior or senior year. And I had some really good friends in Iowa that went to the University of Iowa. I was at Iowa State. And they started doing RAGBRAI, which is the Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa. They do it every year at the end of July. They ride from the west coast of Iowa to the east coast of Iowa. And those guys got into that in college. And so when I graduated from college, I bought my first new bike, and I started to join them on RAGBRAI. And so that's what kind of got me into more serious cycling, I guess.
So how many miles is that?
It's over the whole week. So you ride for 7 days. It's usually anywhere between 500 and some miles to 700 and some miles, depending on how much you zigzag around the state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had a guest on our show. He rode across the whole United States.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that is. Did you, for that cross Iowa jaunt, did you train for that ahead of time, per se? I mean, were you weightlifting and drinking protein drinks? And
drinking beer, but...
high protein
no better training for bike riding than beer.
There's
got to be some protein in the beer.
There's got to be something, yeah. The saying on RAGBRAI was, every beer is a sandwich, so... this crew they loved to drink and they loved to bike, and we had so much fun on those rides. The RAGBRAI's built around... in Iowa, the cities aren't that big, but the overnight towns are generally in these bigger towns or cities. And then to get from that night to the next one, you went through 10 to 20 small towns all along the way. And that
did they come out and?
It's amazing. Yep. All along the way, the farmers would have stands set up selling food or beer. A lot of them will have a slip and slide or a stock tank you can dunk your feet in, or it's just nice. It's a huge rolling social experiment. It's nice. So cool.
Now, actually, all of us here, we've done some camping up Buena Vista, Twin Lakes area, and it seems to me the roads have been shut down a few times for some major either foot races or bikes. Is there competitions that go through there?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I'm not much into competitive riding, but I know in that area I've done the Copper Triangle, which comes out of Copper Mountain. They go up to Leadville and then Minturn Vale and back. So they don't close the roads.
How many miles is that?
That's a 80-some mile.
And you do that
ride.
in one day?
That's a 1-day ride. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
About how long does that take to do that?
That takes most of the day. That ride is usually leaving at 7 and getting in at 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's because you got a lot of steep.
Yeah, you go over 3 big passes.
Oh,
on that
3
ride.
passes. Wow.
Yep.
Have you ever hit passes that are so bad that you had to walk your bike rather than being able to keep the feet moving?
Yeah, well, interesting story. a couple of years ago. So we're gonna talk about a bike ride here in a minute. So there's a group of us of guys, good friends, that probably about 4 or 5 years ago we started doing guys trips every summer, and it started with a trip to Belgium. And
Nice.
Every summer, well, actually started before that with really close friends, and our circle kind of expanded. But anyway, we did a bike tour of Colorado a couple of years ago that started in Grand Junction and ended in Breckenridge. But we went through Crested Butte and Marble, Aspen, Leadville to kind of get there.
And a lot of this is at high altitude.
Yeah, so we went over Independence Pass was the biggest pass we did, but the one that gave us trouble was out of Crested Butte. We went over. Oh man, I can't think of the pass right now. But the pass wasn't bad, but after that, it turned into this crazy Jeep road, and it was unrideable. It was downhill. But it was all boulders, and we were on, 2 of them were on road bikes, and the rest of us were on a gravel type bike, so a little wider tire. But yeah, that was the most challenging riding that I've done in Colorado. Was maybe not so much riding, but we tried to ride some parts of that area.
Now, do you like carry like a tire repair kit, first aid kit, water, all the doodads? A camel for drinking?
Yep,
Is that
camelback.
part of everything?
Yep.
Yeah, not a natural camel. It's like
Yeah.
That'd be challenging.
One hump or two, yeah. Now, do you figure out a certain amount of water you need to bring, like for a ride? Is there like a formula you use?
Yeah, it's mainly I usually think about how long is this ride going to take, and kind of plan according to that. On that trip, most of the trips, big trips like that, they're multi-day. We usually have places along the way where we're planning that we can refill our water too, so you don't have to carry a whole couple gallons for a day.
But do you? I was also thinking from the point of view like making sure you drink enough. Like there's some formulas for marathon runners that they should, even if they're not thirsty, be drinking a certain amount. It's not all agreed upon. Some people say, let thirst be your guide. But do you have a formula or an approach? Or do you kick the guy, hey, you're not drinking enough, drink more water?
No, a lot of times that's what it is, especially when I ride alone. I struggle with water intake, so it's something I have to constantly think about. Is okay, you gotta make sure you drink water, and eating too. When you get into, if you're gonna be riding all day rather than I'm gonna go out for 2 or 3 hours, then I have to think about nutrition a lot more too.
Glycogen depletion.
Yeah, it's really easy to be 3 hours into an 8-hour ride, and all of a sudden you're hitting a wall because you didn't eat.
Yeah, for sure. I worry about the same thing before we film. I worry about chicken depletion.
Right.
So I have to refuel right before the episode.
That's why you got a break.
runs up to get the pictures. It takes 2 minutes longer than it. Now we know.
Yeah, you'll notice that the last chicken thigh has a bite out of it.
Doug was hoping for lunch tomorrow.
Now you did. You're telling us in pre-production. You did this amazing bike ride around Belgium.
Yeah.
Sounds fascinating. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So one of the guys in Arizona, his name's Mike, is a brewer, and he wanted to go see all the Trappist monasteries in Belgium.
Oh.
And so he built a bike trip around all those stops. So we went.
So then you stopped and visited monastery.
Well, that was the plan, but it was our first major bike tour, and we ended up having to do a lot of route finding that was safe for bikes.
Oh.
The original route was on thoroughfares, on roads, and we didn't realize this till we got there that, oh, hey, we're not going to be able to ride this. And so we ended up taking a lot more time to get from place to place. So we actually only got to go into one of the monasteries along the way. But everywhere we stayed was where there was one. And so we at least got to sample the beer. And the beers are pretty widespread in Belgium too. But we got to see them, but we didn't get to go into all of them.
Sure.
So yeah, I believe that was a 8 or 10 day ride. It's been a few years ago now. But yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful ride.
Now, this may sound like a dumb question, but on an 8 or 10 day ride, do you are you bringing your sleeping bag in a little tent, or are you trying to stay at a hostel, or what?
Right.
What did you do?
Yeah, so that trip was it was all like Airbnbs and condo rentals and stuff like that. So we carried everything
Up a
we
level
needed.
quite a bit from a hostel.
Yeah. We carried everything we needed, but we didn't have to carry tents and sleeping bags. And really, the only food we carried was what we bought for lunch in the morning to have along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
we traveled relatively light, which was nice. We were able to move along, at a decent rate and cover more ground than we would have otherwise, for sure.
When we come back, I'm gonna think about this. What was your favorite beer in Belgium?
Man.
Welcome back to the third chair. Peter is still here and wide awake. You must have slept okay last
He
night.
is here.
I drank a rock star before I came.
Chicken didn't make you sleepy.
Yeah, no food coma.
Yeah. It was turkey.
And we're lucky here. Richard is still here. He hasn't escaped.
I shut the door when I came in.
Yeah.
So
Release the dogs.
we were talking about your bike ride through Belgium, and then you talked about the beer you could get. And I know Europe has some unique beers in the
Yeah.
different countries, and I've never been to Belgium. So, what is there a beer you would recommend in Belgium?
Oh man, there were so many beers. What I thought of after you asked that was, we had the first night we were there in Liège. One of the guys had a acquaintance there, and she gave us a personal tour of the city, and we ended up in this little pub in Liège. There's a hole in the wall, and we found out about Chouf. Chouf is the Bud Light of Belgium.
Oh,
Shoof.
Yep. So our bartender that night, they do this contest every year where whoever brews Chouf, they send people out to all these bars all over Belgium, and they secretly judge bartenders and how they pour their beer.
oh,
And this guy had won it that previous year, and so he had the little trophy from the Chouf people that he had won.
Nice.
And we made good buddies with the people in that bar. The Belgian people that were there were very interested in us, and most of them spoke English. And he had a stash of all these interesting and rare beers that he'd been hiding up under the bar. And we were lucky enough that he brought out all these rare beers
So,
and all
you
these
could try
amazing
these.
beers for us to try.
wow.
So
that's
I don't
great.
remember, names of those beers or anything, but that was probably one of the coolest experiences. Was in a dive bar in Liège, Belgium,
Nice.
drinking that guy's beers from under the bar.
So did he make designs in the foam of the beer? 'Cause
No.
they did that. in
Yeah, I don't
Ireland.
know. I can't remember what the thing was about Chouf. They wanted it poured a certain way, so kind of like Guinness, but it wasn't as fancy as that. But
Okay.
yeah, there was
Because
something.
There's
in
a way they
particular.
pour it.
Yep.
Because you kind of
Yep.
up and down.
Yeah, there was
Because-
something about it.
I loved the Guinness in Ireland, and I come here, and they said, "I'll try a pub." Nope.
Yeah.
No, it's not as good. I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
and they said, "Frat, but they brew some here. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's good."
Yep. But yeah, there were so many amazing beers and just places to drink beer that were, just incredible. I would go back in an instant.
Did you have wine there too? Or
We
did
did not. I don't think anyone had a sip of wine the whole trip.
Okay.
I think we biked to like 400 miles. I think we all gained 8 pounds.
Yeah, that's false food. Yeah, you burn calories by then.
Right.
It was all muscle weight.
Right, all muscle mass.
Yeah, we building those muscles on the wiener schnitzel. Well, what did they serve in Belgium? Is it more French or German, or they have some unique dishes?
Yeah, I don't remember it really having anything that unique.
Waffles?
Yeah, we did have Belgian waffles one of the days. Yep.
Yeah.
But there weren't very many towns, but we did come into one town. I think it was Bruges. We got in early in the day. Most of the days we'd get in like just before dinner time, and we got in for lunch that day, and we had waffles after lunch, and we were all just so full from the waffle with just everything on it.
Yeah, in addition, isn't Belgium also famous for different kinds of elite chocolates?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did you have a chance to sample those establishments? And
No, I do remember seeing places that did that, but yeah, we did not.
I think chocolate's big in that whole area because before I went on my cruise last year, they said the Germans made the best chocolates. I found that on the internet a lot. So I waited to Germany, but we started in Netherlands, and they were like saying, "Great, the Netherlands."
Best chocolate.
It's
a battle.
Yeah. So besides biking, have you done any other interesting travel?
I really enjoy Colorado. I moved out here in 2004 from Iowa. And one of the reasons I came out here is I just love the mountains. I love Colorado. I love the West. My best friend lives in Arizona. And so I've gotten to know this part of the world pretty well over the last 30 some years. So I really enjoy exploring this part of the world. I love the mountains. I used to mountain bike a lot when I first came out here, and I didn't know much about mountain biking when I first moved out here. So I
not
hiked.
a lot of mountains in Iowa.
Yeah, no, and I didn't. I wasn't.
This
familiar.
is a major step up.
Yeah, it was a big step. Big step.
Iowa's also cold, isn't it, in the winter?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
definitely
it's still
four
not.
seasons
It's
there.
directly south of Minnesota.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that
Yep.
explains
Yep.
it. Yeah, that explains
Yep.
it.
So
then,
what I ended up doing was hiking a lot. I hiked everywhere that I thought I could mountain bike, because I wanted to see it before I took my bike up there. And so I became really acquainted with, especially around Colorado Springs, a lot of the trails from hiking and then biking a ton around here. So I really love what we have here.
Are you like one of the 14,000 people who hike all the mountains? In
Yeah, I've done a lot. I'm not on the quest to do however many there are, but I do love doing that too.
But which one did you think? Oh, when you got up to the top, you said, "Oh my gosh, this view is unbelievul." I mean, a lot of them.
Yeah,
I thought it was Pikes Peak because it had like a donut shop.
Yeah, right. It's like,
Peter, that's you. Not
so,
They
Peter
did
did
have
that
good-
when he drove up Pikes Peak, still got the donut.
I mean,
Yeah.
the donuts up on the top of Pikes Peak are great.
Yeah,
But-
but they're kind of thuddy. They're like really they don't
They're
rise
kind of-
very much.
yeah.
It's like a hockey puck.
right?
Yeah, they're great cake donuts, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
But
funny.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's not one that particularly
Well, I
stands
tell
out
you,
to
for me, one of the coolest things about 14ers is just the fact that once you get there, it's uninterrupted view, right? 360 degrees,
yeah.
which is so amazing. And I've done a lot of the 14ers in the collegiate peaks, and so there you're standing on a 14er and you're surrounded by 14ers, which is also very impressive. It's just it's awe-inspiring, I guess. When I get up there, it's just the feeling that you did it. You climbed up there, and then what you get it's amazing. Probably the coolest one I did was Mount of the Holy Cross. That was
down
just out of Minturn. So yeah, just out west of Vail.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it's a harder climb. You do a lot of traversing above tree line. So you're up with a view for a lot of it. You're on a ridge getting up to it. And then we came down. That one you can make a loop to get down. So we came down a different way, which you don't often get to do. You usually go up and...
There's no scrambling involved or climbing equipment, is there?
Not on
It's
the
all-
ones I've done.
Yeah.
There are some that are more technical.
For you, the non-Coloradans, tree line is like usually about 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, depending where you are
Yeah.
at.
Yep. 10
And
to
then
11.
basically tree line is you don't have trees.
Yeah. Not
Above the tree line.
Not enough
yeah.
oxygen or heat. Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't have much oxygen
Yeah.
above the tree line.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
about 10,000
Yep.
feet. I mean, that was a challenge of climbing Everest because it was
Oh, yeah.
What's that, 18,000 or 21,000?
Yeah.
21,000.
Yeah, way up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so people need oxygen tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yep.
actually Isaac Asimov, famous science fiction science writer, he wrote an article that man will never climb Everest, and he said because of the delays in publishing, it came out a month after Hillary had climbed Everest. And he said,
Yeah, that's awesome.
I had egg on my face on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yep. The coolest one I ever did, though, before we're out of time, I rode my bike up Mount Evans a couple of years ago. So
Oh,
I actually
wow.
did a 14er on a bike, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
oh,
wow.
that is
Yeah.
neat.
Is that more difficult coming back down? I mean, I know it'd be hard work going up, but isn't controlling your speed and
Yeah.
and not like driving off a cliff?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, and the thing about that was it's probably been 3 years ago now. It was during COVID, so the road was completely closed, and so that was really cool. But the road was so deteriorated; it was full of cracks going with traffic, and so it was terrifying because if your tire would have gone into one of those cracks, you would have been a
Oh,
goner.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a very scary descent, and it was really cold that day, and I was shivering all the way down, and so it was like this whole terror of shaking and trying to avoid the cracks and potholes, and
And then there's that sense of I just want to get to the
Yeah.
bottom, so
Yeah.
you might actually let yourself be
Yeah.
pushed a little faster
exactly.
rather than taking caution.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I
So
feel the same way driving
Do
to
you know how
McDonald's.
fast your
Yeah.
bike was going at its peak? We'll answer that.
I
when we
could
get back.
after, yeah.
We'll be right back. Hi, Peter and Doug here from The Third Chair. We're looking for a win-win situation. We want to keep these videos put up on a weekly basis, and we want to help you succeed with your business adventure.
And we've brought up as a show a lot of important issues that people are interested in, and we brought up a lot of local actors and artists and bringing them forward, which helps them as well as our audience members in finding some of these things.
So there is an email on the screen. Send us a note if you're interested in knowing about some of our sponsorship packages.
Welcome back to the third chair. I won't say
The
it.
third
for you to say.
hair where you counted Peters and my
Yeah, the third hair, or you have 3 rabbits.
That's the amount of hair I can see because he always wears a cap.
Not much
But,
more underneath.
Yeah. And Peter's yawning, so we're going to get on with the
Against the
show.
wall here.
Yeah.
You're more tired this week than last week.
Yeah, my rock star level is dropping.
So,
Question about bike speed.
yeah,
bike
how
speed.
fast? Because, I mean, those bikes can go.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to ride with a speedometer, but I don't anymore. But I record my rides on an app, so it's usually after. And sometimes you look at it like, oh, I wonder where I was going 48 miles an hour.
Yeah,
That's
it's
about close to
better not to know. Yeah,
Because that's pretty fast.
yeah.
Well, I've seen some bikers on some of the mountain trails going really fast, and then when you see what's behind them, there's like a bear running after them.
Yeah, reason.
Yeah, they're moving. Yeah. Mama bear wants to come eat you.
Wow.
That's funny.
So what did you do? Because the bike's faster than you were. Did you just hit the bike tires so they would fall down and the bear have something to eat?
Yeah. This actually did truly happen to me. I was buying a mountain bike at one of my partner's place over at Bear Creek Park, and we're in the backyard. He's showing me the bike. I've got my checkbook. I'm with my 5-year-old daughter, Amy. And not 8 yards from us walks through Mama and 2 cubs, black bear, good sized Mama. They just walk through and ignore us. And I turned to my 5-year-old daughter, Amy, and I said, look, there's something really important that we learned from this, okay? You do not tell your mother. That was a true story.
So Doug, refer Rhonda to segment 8 so that she can listen to this and Peter will be in trouble.
I grew up in Vancouver, and we had big brown bears come through our yard all the time.
Oh man.
Which leads us to our guest. You grew up in Iowa, you said.
Yes.
So did your parents have a farm? Or?
Yep, I grew up on a family farm. Well, so it's kind of a long story, but both of my parents' families grew up in about a 10-mile radius of each other.
Oh.
And so when I was in, I think after my first grade year, my great uncle passed away, who was farming one of the family farms on my mom's side. And I don't know how it all transpired, but we ended up moving out to that farm, and my dad took over the farm. So we grew up on that farm, and my mom's family lived about, 6 or 8 miles in one way, and my dad's family on a farm another 6 or 8 miles the other way.
Oh.
And so all of us farmed together. At one point, my dad was sharecropping with my grandpa Teal, my mom's side.
That makes it a lot easier to do the work.
Yep.
Because some things have to be done quickly.
Yeah, and so we got to spend a lot of time with our grandparents because of that. Either they were on our farm or we were going over to
So did you have
one of
any
their
siblings?
farms. So I have 2 sisters, both younger than me.
Oh, so you were the oldest.
I was the oldest.
You
Yep.
had to be the responsible one.
Yep, and I always tell my kids when I start the school year, it's like, here's my story. I'm from a farm where you had to do work, and so that's what I expect of you.
Sure.
So did you have a lot of cousins in this situation?
Not a lot, actually. On my mom's side, my mom's sister has two boys, and they both are running that side, both of those farms now.
Oh, okay.
So those farms are still in the family.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, the Lorenzen side, that farm got sold. My grandpa actually contracted to sell that farm over time while my dad was still working it.
Oh, okay.
And then that deal fell through, and it ended up getting sold to another farmer in the area. But so the farm's still there. It's just not in the family anymore.
So why did you come to Colorado?
Yeah, well, it's a long story that got me here. But when I was in high school, my dad remarried when I was in maybe 4th or 5th grade. And I did not get along with my stepmom.
Oh.
And so when I was in high school, my senior year, all through high school, I really thought I was going to be a farmer. I thought I was going to come back. My grandpa Teal always told me, if you want to farm, I'll set you up. And so I thought that until probably about, probably mid-year my senior year. And my ag teacher said to me one day, he said, have you ever thought about being a teacher? And I was like, no. He said, you can teach agriculture. You don't have to be a farmer to be in agriculture. And so I thought about it, and he encouraged me to apply to some schools. And I did, and I got accepted at several, including Iowa State. And I decided that I was going to go give it a try. And now, 31 years later,
Here's where you are.
I'm still doing it. So he saw something in me that I didn't know at that time.
And now, what's your family like? Because you're married?
Yep.
And you have any children?
I have one son, Parker. He's 15.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So he's getting in the teen years.
Yeah.
Is finding that more of a challenge?
Oh, yeah.
Now, did he go to the same middle school?
No, he did not. No.
Oh, okay.
Yep, he went to school up here in Colorado Springs. I'm down at Fountain.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah, he did not. Yep. But
Not unusual.
yeah,
Not
but
Yeah.
I guess when I
In middle school, you probably, if you're a kid, you probably don't want to go to the
that's
same
probably
school as your
true,
parents.
right?
Yeah.
High school isn't as bad, probably. But
Yeah.
middle
Yeah.
school, I would like there's a lot of adjustments in middle school.
Yep, that's
When you're
for
a
sure. That's for sure. Yeah, I always wish that he could have had the experience I had growing up. You know, I grew up in the country, and he's grown up completely a city boy.
Yeah,
And I
that's a
really
big
wish,
difference.
I really wish he could have experienced what that was like to, live out in the country and kind of have to be able to fend for yourself sometimes and
Work with your hands.
work with your hands. Yeah.
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 Did Did you learn something like teaching middle? How long have you been teaching middle schoolers?
I've been teaching middle schoolers since I started teaching. So in Iowa, I taught in 3 different schools. I taught agriculture in all of them. And then my very first job, they said, oh, you have to teach this. They called it an exploratory class. So I had 7th and 8th graders that came down for, I did woodworking with them in my shop.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, as soon as I got into it, it's something I never expected was to have to teach middle schoolers. And every school after that, I actually started teaching science to middle schoolers in a couple of the schools. So they needed a science teacher. So I did ag part-time and middle school science part-time. And that's what actually got me to Colorado. My wife at the time was from Phoenix. And this was the exact middle ground. It was 12 hours to home and 12 hours at Phoenix. And I always wanted to live in Colorado. So we landed here. In Colorado Springs because it was the middle ground, but the job I got was teaching middle school science.
Oh,
And so that's how I got my foot in the door down in School District 8, and then that evolved into teaching industrial tech and metal shop, and now I'm teaching applied. I'm doing STEM and STEAM classes at Carson.
And
Middle
STEAM
School.
is STEM with agriculture added?
Yeah, A's the arts, but yeah, I do ag. A's the ag for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
did you learn anything in your about 20 years of teaching middle schoolers when your son was a middle schooler that you could use?
Nothing I knew mattered.
That's what you learned. Yep. So, all that experience with him, and your son, the unique individual.
Well, and he is. He's very well. He has creativity, but he's very much into music. And that's his jam. Where I'm more like get your hands on stuff and figure out how things work and fix things. And
Well, you used to play an instrument. You have to get your hands on them.
Yep. No. Yep. He does it a different way. Yeah, and he's very talented at it, so that's pretty cool. But
So he found his niche.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
He's following that. That's neat.
Yeah. So it's interesting, as you guys both know.
I have 4 kids that are grown now, but we had a few years,
Yep.
challenging, very
Yeah.
challenging.
Oh yeah, kids are
I had to.
great, but they are. The work never ends, it seems.
I was involved with coaching travel hockey and trying to teach my son a wrist shot. And I grew up playing hockey in Canada, and I would have to pay some other high school kid to tell him the same thing, and then to have my son say, "How come you never told me that?" It's like, yeah.
Sometimes that's the last person they listen to is their parents.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep.
Well, we're going to go to a break.
And we're going to look at pictures.
Yeah, some pictures, some more artwork of Richard's when we come back.
Awesome.
Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. There's Doug, and we're here with Richard Lorenzen. And do you normally go by Rich or Rick, or what do you normally? Hey, you? What?
Yeah, right. Well, I usually go by Richard.
Oh, so you do go by Richard.
But Close people in my life call me Rich.
Rich.
Yep.
Do you ever get like it's King Richard or those kind of embellishments?
No, I haven't got that.
Richard III.
Right?
Richard the Third.
I worked at a gas station in college, and it was a full service station back then. It was the late 80s. Still pumped gas and changed oil and washed cars.
They did that in the late 80s?
Yeah,
Wow.
I did that in the 70s.
Yeah, we were the only one in Ames, Iowa that did that. But they used to call me Archie there. That was my nickname. So
like
not
the
sure.
comic.
I
like
think
Archie?
that's where it came
Archie
from.
and Jughead and Veronica.
I still read
and
those.
Betty and
I have
Hot Dog.
I have in my car, and if I have to wait somewhere, I pull out those because they're like 5 pages and they're like so simple. And like, okay, I know I'm gonna wait like 10 minutes. I can read 2 or 3 Archie stories.
Yep.
Because the plots are all the same. So.
Yep. Right.
They're like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
The Archies put out a number of albums, but they weren't actually a regular band. They would just have a few people come
band.
together, to produce music, but they
Really?
weren't like a touring band.
Huh.
Yeah.
But I never knew in the song Sugar Sugar, there's a woman's voice in the background. You make love so sweet, and I never knew if it was Biddy or Veronica.
Yeah. Yeah, or Hot Dog.
Wow, you certainly love hot dog.
Hot Dog was the coolest. Jughead.
Jughead.
Yeah, the Jughead, yeah.
That's right.
Is that a good segue to pictures?
Yes. So, as we've mentioned before, Richard does metalwork art, and I found this one on your website. I found so interesting because I'm dying to know exactly how big this is. It looks like something out of Star Wars.
It is, yeah. So hopefully we don't get some kind of trademark infringement or something out of this. But yeah, this is an at Walker, I think is what it's called. I'm not a huge Star Wars guy.
Something like that.
So I used to work with this guy who was into he had really cool ideas of large scale pieces like this, and he came to me one day and said, "What do you think about an at Walker bird bath?"
Oh wow!
I was like, "Oh,
that's a bird bath.
It's a bird bath. The top of it's hollow. It's about 6 inches deep that you can put water in there.
I mean, how high is this thing off the ground?
Yeah, it's about that high. It's probably 40 inches high.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized piece.
So does it walk around to get the birds?
No, it doesn't. That'd be cool.
Does the laser turret shoot anything out? Like
no.
Sweet
It
water.
was shooting squirrels who were trying to steal.
That would be really cool.
Steal the eggs.
Yeah. So this was a really cool piece because I used the CNC cutter to cut the shapes of the silhouettes, I guess, of the sides.
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of this is all hand done, the feet. I bent those into rings and welded those, and a lot of the curved pieces you see on its head and the back, they were all formed by hand.
Now, do you with woodworking, you cut joints, so you're sticking one piece in the other. Do you do the same thing with metal?
Kind of. I mean, there's some spots on this where there's a tab that sticks out that the other piece. This is all modular, so each piece is kind of its own part, and that would kind of slide onto that, and I could weld against that to hold it in that particular spot. So not so much a joint, I guess, as
some kind of attachment.
A tab or a flange that kind of sticks out.
How long did that one take?
That one took a while. I don't know. Yeah. 40 or 80 hours, I suppose. Yeah, that's a fun piece. But before that piece, he wanted a wind vane, except he wanted it to be a Stegosaurus.
Oh wow, that would be so cool.
So if you look on the website, there's a picture of it. And that was a huge piece too.
Stegosaurus
wind vane. Yep.
Wow.
So I think the arrow on that was about 48 or 50 inches long, and then the Stegosaurus was
So help my untutored mind. A wind vane, that's something that shows the direction of the wind?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they always have one of those on Mary Poppins, or if there's a tornado movie.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So it was actually a really cool piece, very unique piece. So check that out if you want to go on the website.
All right, and so this next one is I put in here just to remind myself to to have you talk about the fact that you do things besides metal work. And that looks like it's a side of a deck. I'm not exactly sure if you did the railings or what.
Yeah, I did the metal work here. So that's the one I was talking about a little earlier with the screen under the deck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that is this is my adopted family's home back in Iowa, and she wanted something. She's an artist as well, and she wanted something unique to form that screen under the deck.
Oh.
And so, if you look at this online, I don't know if you can zoom in on that better to see the detail, but it is a really cool piece. So those are about 4.5 feet tall, and I had to build it. I built it here, but it's all pieces, and so I had to haul it out there in my truck, and then we put it together there on site, and.
Well, it shows up a lot bigger on the screen.
Yeah, it'll look a lot bigger on your computer screen. But yeah, this is a spectacular piece. Probably one of my favorite pieces. I like that it's large scale, and she wanted that to go to a natural finish, so that has no paint on it. So I haven't seen it.
On there. I would like to see that in person.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Now it's all should be all patinaed with some rust and weathering on it. So. I'll be going back there this next month, actually, so to see it.
I had a chance to pull some pictures that you did of it looked like a metal frame with wood in it and like a table kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's something else you can regularly make if someone wanted that.
Yep, I really enjoy that kind of work, actually. I have several pieces in my home. The one you're talking about is a table. I lived in this little condo, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago. And the kitchen was very small, and so I built that table to fit into a little nook in the kitchen, and it's on wheels, so I could roll it.
Oh, it's on wheels too.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one. That's brilliant.
Yep. So we still have it because it's a beautiful piece. It's got a beautiful finish on the top. But yeah, that was purposeful because we needed something to open up the kitchen, and so we put it on wheels so we could roll it into that little nook in the kitchen. Yep.
Almost like a gurney, someone breaks their leg, you
right,
got that right
throw
there.
them on there.
Throw them on there, yeah. Maybe you got a ramp out the back and they can just give some speed. For our last couple minutes here, let's transition into something I asked you about that you're passionate about, and you told me one of the things you're passionate about is kindness. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Wow. I was just talking to somebody about this. I was at a conference in North Dakota last week.
Where in North Dakota?
In Fargo.
Oh.
Fargo. Is there anyone else? Anywhere else?
Yeah, Grand Forks, where I grew up. So.
Right there, yeah. Yeah, but it was a conference for educators teaching career and technical ed, like I do. And one of the presenters that I went to see asked if there was one thing that you were passionate about that you could push for change. And I thought about kindness sitting there because it's, I don't know, my experience, the job I had before this, I was in a high school with almost 2,000 kids. And not only would you walk through the halls and kids wouldn't even acknowledge that you existed, but a lot of the adults were the same way. You'd approach someone in the hall and they wouldn't even make eye contact with you. And a lot of times I think it's just because people are caught up in what they're doing.
Right.
But it's also kind of a lost art of just acknowledging someone, even if you just make eye contact and nod your head. And so I got to thinking more and more about that. I've always thought about it, but after this conference, I was thinking more about that, how that is kind of a lost art. Maybe people need like a refresher in kindness and courtesy, and just how...
Even if we have to beat it into them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Right? But I don't know. I preach to my kids a lot about how little things like that, like saying hello. I have kids that walk into my classroom still today that they'll walk up to me. They won't look at me. I'll say hello to them, and they'll turn the corner and go into the room. And I don't think kids especially understand what a lack of social skill that is. What is the real impact of behaving that way. And, surely that's observed somewhere, before they get to me. They've learned that somehow.
And it does make a difference. You do that in a job interview, you're going to decrease your chances of getting the job.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, it's also just, making your way in the world. How do you connect with someone to find out if maybe that's someone who will be impactful to you, right? Just being able to socially interact, by saying hello to someone or asking them a question and engaging in a conversation to decide, hey, this is someone I want to get to know more, or, okay, I see that this won't go any further than that, but you don't know if you don't do it.
Right. For sure. Well, on that deep thought, we're going to go to a break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. What's your name again? Oh, it's Doug. I didn't have my glasses. And special guest, Richard Lorenzen.
On the show called The Third Hair, I think.
The third hair, the third stare. We have 3 viewers. And, we are talking with Richard, who's an educator and a metal work artist and woodworker. And we were talking earlier about some things he's passionate about talking about. Last segment, we talked about the idea of kindness. And this time, I want him to expound on why he thinks happiness is important.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, their entire 55-hour seminars in this.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess in my life, I remember a time in my life where I used to get so upset about things. I remember a particular time. I actually had the opportunity to move back and live on the farm where I grew up. Right before I moved to Colorado, about the last 8 years before I moved out here, I was able to move back home and live on the farm. And I just remember one time I got an overdraft notice, and I was so mad. And I got in my truck and I drove dangerously into this little town where my bank was, and took care of it or whatever, and came back home. And I just remember that kind of being a monumental moment in my life where it's like, was that really worth it? Like going through all that and being so upset. And one of the things I always remember about my grandpa Lorenzen, and when I was in college, I put myself through college, and every once in a while I'd have to go home and say, hey, Grandpa Lorenzen, I need $100 for this, or can you give me $250 for this, or whatever. And his answer was always the same. It's like, no problem. They'll make more. And I think it was in that moment that really hit that, okay, it's just money.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to change my life, in any great way. And I don't know, I guess I've always just kind of had that kind of positive attitude, forward-looking attitude. And I guess just in my experience, it's served me well. Having a positive spin on things, and I guess going back to what we were just talking about and building relationships and making relationships with people, is it's a whole lot easier to do that when you're an upbeat person. And
students can pick that up too.
That's my biggest hope, is that when I try to convey that, which I do regularly, and talk about every Friday, I ask my kids to tell me a good thing. That's their warm up. The bell ringer on Fridays is, what's your good thing? And so I try, because it never fails. Even though I say things like, if you have a roof over your head, or someone who made you a meal this morning, that's a good thing, right? Someone who loves you, that's a good thing. I still get papers every week that say nothing.
That's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and it's good to help people actively think about gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And maybe that's the better word, is gratitude. And in that, I think if you think about the things that are a blessing in your life and that you're lucky to have, and that bring you joy, then that should make you happy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And when you focus, which a lot of people I know, not just kids, but a lot of people I know, focus on, oh, why is this happening to me? This is so bad. I'm so distraught or unlucky or whatever. And I don't know, you just kind of get stuck in that rut. And a lot of times the bad things are the first things that pop into our head instead of the good things.
I think social media has a role in this. I know there's been a study that showed people that look at a lot of Facebook have way higher rates of depression. And so you see someone creating a false story, and then you see it and you say, my life sucks compared to that. When you're not seeing all the crap going on in their life, just a couple of the highlights.
Yeah, it is. It's such a... I think it's very difficult for young people especially to relate reality to what they experience almost incessantly, in front of them on their screen.
Yes.
And understand that this may not even be real, and if it is, it's just a moment in someone's life.
Yeah. And maybe it's exaggerated or even a lie.
Yep.
Especially if it's a politician.
Yeah, right. Wait, we were going to talk about politics.
Yeah, I know. I broke the rule.
He has to stand in the role.
Tell us how people can contact you if they're interested in having you build something for them.
Yeah, so email's best, lorenzencustoms@gmail.com. Check out my website at lorenzencustoms.com. I'm on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Lorenzen Customs. You can see all my stuff.
Cool. Yeah, there's some cool stuff on your website.
Yep, and I'm happy to entertain ideas. I guess that's what I tell people all the time, is people say...
You see, you can pull off some interesting ideas.
People say, can you do this? And I'm like, well, what do you have in mind? And more times, like we talked about before, more times than not, things are more possible than they are impossible.
That's so cool. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being our guest. We are very grateful.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching tonight. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so that you know when we've uploaded another episode of The Third Chair. Good night.